Thank you, and welcome to the November 20th meeting of the East Hampton City Council. Could I have a roll call, please? Roll call,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
I was bothering her, it's my fault.
Justin Cobb,
Present.
Donald Psychowski,
Here.
Salem Derby.
Present.
Dan Hagan,
Present.
Joe McCoy.
Here.
Chester Oglevitz, Dan Rist,
Here.
Joy Winnie.
Here.
Nathan Ziegler.
Present.
I have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous
So
meeting.
moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or objections?
I abstain.
So recorded, so noted. Any further comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yep, we went through that already, so we're good to go.
We voted
Okay,
twice.
at this point, I'll entertain communications. There's no communications for elected boards and committees unless you have anything new.
You want public speak, sir? I think you skipped over that.
We do have public speak, yeah, it's up here.
We
At
on
this point,
communications?
No, sir.
we're gonna go with public speak, and then I'll open the table for you. Okay. At this time, if there's any members of the public who would like to address the council, please step forward on any matter that's not currently on our public hearing agenda. Seeing none, since we have no communications from elected officials, boards, and committee, Councilor Psychowski?
Well, I think the town's got a little bit of the city has a little bit of a problem ahead of it. If you look carefully at the bike racks on Union Street and the guitars on Cottage Street. I spent quite a few years working on maintenance, and I'm very well appraised of OSHA guidelines. You don't have anything with points around anywhere. If the kids are out there playing around, somebody gets knocked over and they get speared on one of those points, it's going to be the city's fault, and we'll be opening ourselves up for a lawsuit. Now, with the guitars on Cottage Street, I looked at them closely today. They don't have any points, they have radiuses. So that's all right, but the thing of it is, they're two separate sheets of steel there. And if somebody slips on that sidewalk, or they say it's the cultural center, but I say it's more like an entertainment center because there's a lot of alcohol served down there. There might be a fight. Or somebody's gonna slip on a sidewalk and they're gonna get their head cut or gonna get gashed on a plate of steel. So I think this problem should be addressed by somebody. I hate to bring this up. I thought somebody in the administration would be bringing it up before me, but that's why I had to bring it up. Nobody brought it up. I just wanted here, so if anything happens, I can say, you were notified.
Thank you, Councilor. Mayor Communications, do you have anything to report?
I don't think he heard you.
Mayor Communications? No report? Thank you. Reports of standing committees, rules, Councilor Rist.
Yes, Mr. President, we are going to meet on the 25th of this Monday to deal with the items on our agenda at 6 o'clock in Room A in this building. And we are also going to meet on December 2nd in Room A. I will hope that our third counselor, Councilor Oglevitz, can make the first meeting. If not, we will cancel it and meet in the second meeting. It is my hope that all three of us, because these are important topics, can meet. So I'm announcing both dates, and hopefully we will know so the public can attend. Thank you.
Okay, Finance, Councilor Hagan.
Finance, I'll announce our next meeting. We're changing the day from Wednesday, since it's the day before Thanksgiving, and we're going to meet Tuesday evening, November 26th, at 6 p.m. in Room A, at which time we'll take up, we have a little more to be done on the $50,000 for the exterior painting of the Congregational Church. We've already voted on the police cruiser, and I think we have one item of new business that will be taken up. I also would like to set a public hearing for two items. I'd like to set a public hearing in the form of a motion for the December 4th meeting for the $22,500 supplemental funding for replacement of a marked police cruiser.
Second. I'm sorry, second.
We have a motion on the table to recommend a public hearing concerning the supplemental funding of 22.5 for the replacement of marked police cruiser for December 4th, 6:15 in these chambers. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Motion passes. Councilor Hagan, you still have the floor.
I would also like to set a public hearing in the form of a motion of $50,000 for exterior painting of the Congregational Church, also for December 4th, 2013.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to set a public hearing for a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 for the exterior painting of the Congregational Church on December 4th, 2013, 6:15 in these chambers. Is there any further comment on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Motion passes. Councilor Hagan?
That concludes finance, except for our one item of new business, which I can take care of that, or...
We'll take care of that later. Councilor McCoy?
Thank you
Public
very
safety?
much. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. I guess I would like to ask for 60-day extensions, and from a motion, 60-day extensions for all four of our topics we have on my agenda.
Second.
Okay.
We have a motion on the table to recommend a 60-day extension for all agenda items under public safety. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilman McCoy.
I will mention more about our progress on the Garfield Avenue, Hisgin Avenue traffic issues during the public hearing. We have been making progress on both the Mechanic Street, and I've been in communications with the city engineer concerning the street acceptances. So we are making progress on all those issues, and I will discuss more about the Garfield Avenue and Hisgin during the public hearing, and that concludes.
Thank you. Appointments, Councilor Winning.
Yes, thank you. We have a lengthy report for tonight. We have met tonight at 5:45, and we had 22 appointments, 20 of which are reappointments and 2 of which are new appointments to review. We reviewed all of the appointments and made the motion, and it passed 2-1 to accept all 22 appointments. So in the form of a motion, I will read the following positions and make it in the form of a motion for the approval of appointments. So we will begin with, we have recommended that Johanna Andrioli be appointed to the Housing Partnership Committee with the expiration date of December 31st, 2016. Joanne Slattery to the Board of Assessors. Expiration date of the appointment is December 31st, 2014. Darlene Butrick, Aquifer Protection Committee, 12/31/2016. Darlene Butrick to the Barnes Aquifer Protection Committee, 12/31/2016. David Zagorski to the Board of Assessors with the appointment ending of 12/31/2016. Daniel Butrick to the Conservation Commission, 12/31/2016. Michael Burley, Development and Industrial Commission, 12/31/2016. Beverly Wadicka, Historical Commission, 12/31/2016. Jane Kowalski, Housing Authority, 12/31/2016. Carla Phillips Katz, Manhan Rail Trail Committee, 12/13/2016. William Burgart, Manhan Rail Trail Committee, 12/31/2016. Liz Provo, Register of Voting, 12/31.
National Pond.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. My eyes are playing. National Wannock Pond Committee, 12/31/16. Brian Fink, Register of Voters, 12/31/2016. And a footnote, I'm going to do a few school building committee appointments, and they are being put back into place as they need to stay intact until the MSB does its audit on the new high school. So the following: Nancy Follinsby to the School Building Committee for 12/31/2014. Barbara Coopy, School Building Committee, 12/31/14. Peter Roy, School Building Committee, 12/31/14. Laura Connor, School Building Committee, 12/31/14. Michael Burley, School Building Committee, 12/31/14. Vito Perone, School Building Committee, 12/31/14. LaDonna Crowe, School Building Committee, 12/31/14. And Charles McAuliffe, School Building Committee, 12/31/14. And then last but not least, James Zadonis for the Veterans Council for 12/31/2016.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the table for the aforementioned 22 appointments. Is there any further comment on these appointments? Hearing none, all those in favor? Excuse me?
I just wanted to publicly thank Joanne Slattery for coming back to our city to work on the board. She has a lot of knowledge in this area, and I think it's a good appointment. Thank you.
Any other comment on these appointments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank
Council
you.
Winnie?
We have more appointments coming up in the new business, and we are setting our next meeting for those appointments for December 4th at 5:30 in Room A. And then we also have 2 people that have applied for the City Council appointment for the CPA committee, and we will review those 2 appointments. Well, it's one appointment, but the 2 people that have applied for the appointment on December 18th at 5 o'clock in the conference room A at 5 o'clock. We will ask both individuals who have expressed interest in the appointments to come in and meet with us. So I guess that's the end of my committee report,
Mr. President?
Mr. President.
Yes?
I'd just like to know who the 2 members are being, I guess we have no paperwork on them right now?
It will
Yes,
be
the-
put into the box. This isn't going to happen until December 18th. So
We'll have it for the next
You
meeting.
will have it for the next
Well,
meeting,
I'd
yeah.
still like to know who
Yeah.
they are. Is that possible, Mr. Cobb?
Yes.
President Cobb?
Nancy Steinberg, the incumbent, and Greg Rowland, he's a citizen who's currently interested in the same position.
Okay, thank you.
That said, we have a couple minutes. Ordinance, Councilor Derby?
Thank you, Mr. President. The ordinance subcommittee met on November 6th, where we were able to discuss the zoning amendment proposal for the medical marijuana ordinance. And we sent that back to the planning board. We're waiting time for a joint public hearing, at which point we will get their recommendation and we'll bring it back to the full council. And at this time, I would like to ask for a 30-day extension on our final item on the bottom. I'll ask that in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to extend the request from Councilor Psychowski concerning grant employees for 30 days. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Motion passes.
That
Councilor
concludes
Derby?
my report.
Okay, thank you. Property, Councilor Psychowski?
No report this evening, but I'd like a 30-day extension on that issue,
Formal motion.
the form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to extend the request concerning the disposition of Parsons Street School property for 30 days.
Can I just, when I do the extensions, I do them from the day that we make them, which today, so this doesn't expire until the end of December.
So it doesn't need a
So
So
it
second?
27-day extension enough, that 31st or 28 days I got?
I think what she's indicating is
It's
the
right
last
now.
meeting in December
Yeah, you
would
don't
be the
need to
time
do
to
it
extend
right
it.
now.
You could
I
extend it.
know, but I just wanted to get it over and done with housekeeping.
Yeah, but if I extend it from today, it's 30 days from today.
Which is,
Extended 6
No, it just rolls
Just do
over to the
60
next.
days.
next
no,
committee.
it doesn't.
What she's saying.
No, what
technically.
she's saying
Just
is.
say 60, Don, that's all.
Just,
Say
yeah,
60
say
days.
60.
Then you get
We
all
have
the
to
time.
remove
60.
them, we currently have a motion on the table for 30 days. We would have to remove that
Move-
motion.
Move to amend the
What,
motion
60?
to 60 days.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have an amended motion to amend the main motion from 30 days to 60 days. Is there any further comment on the amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections or abstentions? None. Okay, now, could we have a vote on the main motion as amended? Is there any further comment on the main motion as amended to 60 days? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? None. That motion has been moved to a 60-day extension. Councilor Psychowski, anything further?
Okay. That's it.
Thank you very much. We're right on time. Could I have a motion to enter into our public hearing?
Second.
We have a motion on the table to enter into public hearing. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? Motion passes. Councilor Hagan, you have the floor first.
The public hearing tonight is one that we have to do every year, and that's to set the tax classification. I'll just read this, just so it's in the record. Notice hereby given that the East Hampton City Council will hold a public hearing on November 20th, 2013 at 6:15 at the East Hampton Municipal Building, 50 Payson Avenue, second floor meeting area, East Hampton, Mass. As required by Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, to determine the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real property as defined in Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 2A, and personal property for fiscal 2014. The policy decisions available to the City Council include, but are not limited to, adopting a single tax rate applicable to all property or adopting a two-tiered tax rate, one rate for commercial and industrial property and a different rate for residential and open space property. Interested taxpayers may present written or oral information on their views at a public hearing or by submitting the written information prior to the hearing to the City Council at 50 Payson Avenue, East Hampton, Mass. With that said, I have both the head of the Board of, a board member of the Board of Assessors and our Chief Assessor here for, if they want to just, one or both want to get up and just kind of give us a brief overview of what's involved and what your recommendation, which everyone got a copy of the board's recommendation. And then we'll open it up to any other members of the public that might have a comment.
As he begins, all members also got this textual update on the items. Thank you.
As you know, and I think you have part of your packet, is the Board of Assessors voted to recommend residential factor 1, which continues one tax rate for all classes of property.
Is there any questions for the principal assessor on any of these issues?
This one.
Councilor Hagan?
Mark, that's a continuation of what we've done in the past, right? This
Yes.
is no change, it's just keeping the same tax rate of
Right.
everyone paying, basically residential and commercial paying the same, there's no changes, but I think since it's been a city, we've had that.
Right, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Would a member of the board like to add anything to the presentation?
We were in agreement.
Okay. That said, if there's any member of the public who'd like to step forward and address the council on this particular issue, please do so. Just state your name and address for the record. Seeing none? Thank you, Mark. Councilor Hagan?
I'll make a motion if there's no, unless councilors have additional questions, I'll make the following motion. That the City Council approve the following, that we maintain the same residential percentage as adopted last year, which would result in one tax rate for fiscal 14 for all classes of real and personal property. And that, number 2, that would be not granting an open space discount. Number 3, not granting an owner-occupied exemption. And 4, not granting a small business exemption.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to follow the recommendation of the Board of Assessors concerning the factor concerning keeping a single tax rate with not granting an open space discount, not granting an owner-occupied exemption, and not granting a small business exemption. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstention? Motion passes. Thank you, Councilor Hagan. Councilor Derby.
Thank you, Mr. President. What we have before you tonight is something the ordinance subcommittee has been working on for quite a while. And this is a culmination of work that we did with the planning board to take a look at the behest of Councilor Cobb, some of the inconsistencies and clarifications that needed to be made to part of the special permit application or zoning. And so what you have in front of you is basically a document that was worked on by the ordinance subcommittee and the planning board to try to fix some of those inconsistencies and clarify some of the things that were unclear.
Okay. I do have a comment.
Okay.
I apologize if it seems rather harsh, but I'm going to comment. We received this request in August 2011. This is just finally coming to us, the recommendations. In reviewing these recommendations, I actually found, I don't disagree with any of them. I want to point that out. But I found them rather cursory to the intent of what I was trying to do. And I also noticed that there was the last email I received from the city planner as a result of the hearing that I attended, there were a recommendation to establish a couple of definitions. And I noticed in the final recommendations that that was completely dropped out. And I was wondering what the discussion was on those.
Well, I can speak to that a little bit.
I have them here if you want to read them.
Yeah, well, there was one piece of this that ended up staying with the planning board because they wanted to do more research on that particular piece, and I believe the definition section was attached to that. So I think that that's something that's going to be brought forward in the near future. So what we have in front of us tonight is what we had worked on minus one of the pieces, and that piece is still with the planning board, and they are continuing to work on that.
For clarity, could you read that highlighted?
Sure.
Is that,
says-
does it look like two definitions? Is that the piece they're going to stay with?
So it is my opinion that section 8.3 of the East Hampton zoning ordinance refers to multiple unit developments. A possible solution would be to craft a definition for this term for the definition section 2.0 and rename the section 8.3 with this new term. In addition, a definition of multifamily dwelling should also be created. And I believe that is a piece of what the planning board is
Still working?
still working on. And that we shall see some, once they resolve their wordsmithing, that will be brought to us
Okay.
as a result of this process.
Would we see that on the agenda, as an agenda item, Barbara, for the planning board?
On their agenda? I don't think
How
so.
would I know they're going to talk about it?
Oh, I would, Mr. President, I would assume that the ordinance committee will retain part of this on their agenda, should you not, because you're going to still
Sure.
debate it. So it's still in the committee, therefore it's in the planning boards, because we send it to both committees. So
You got
the
me
clerk
confused,
should,
but go ahead.
the clerk should continue to hold at least part of whatever this request for subcommittee action on the agenda that's still being debated. We're only clearing up some of it, if
Right.
I understand, Councilor Derby. Because that,
Right, that's where I was going. I didn't want this to be completely wiped out without a thorough discussion on.
And I think that's fine with the committee, to keep a piece of this on our agenda until the whole thing is resolved. And I apologize, but I don't have in front of me exactly what, I don't remember if it's 8.4 or what the one piece that they're working on is. But I know that they withheld one piece of recommendation and sent these forward because these were ready to go.
Okay?
But I can find that out and make sure that it stays on our agenda.
Is that clear to the city clerk?
Yeah, I'll just keep it on.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Are there any further questions or comments for Councilor Derby? Seeing none, is there any member of the public who would like to step forward and address the council on this issue? Seeing none, Councilor Derby.
Okay. I'd like to move to amend sections 2.1, 6.7, 6.8, and 8.3 of the East Hampton zoning ordinance as detailed by the planning board.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to approve the aforementioned zoning amendment to 2.1, 6-7, 6.8, 8-3 as presented tonight. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain because I do not consider the work complete at this point.
Can I just ask for, Salem, what was your subcommittee's recommendation?
It was
It was the
2-0
Okay.
to approve.
Okay. Next, Councilor McCoy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we've had some very productive meetings concerning the stop sign at Garfield and Hisgen Avenue. Briefly, the police department was against putting in a four-way stop sign, as that there is some data showing that it can be problematic in its own right. So we had a very good discussion with the public safety, with the police and the residents, and they came up with 4 proposals to make hopefully that intersection safer without, at this point, installing a 4-way stop sign. So those 4 recommendations are in play at the moment. I guess for just information, I can say what those preliminary recommendations are. One was to have the crosswalks at the intersection freshly repainted. Another one was to put one of those pedestrian crossing cones, I'm sorry, drew a blank on the word, in the center of the intersection. That would definitely be seasonal, because we tend to lose a lot of those to plows, so it would be a seasonal thing. Also, set a no parking setback away from, on Garfield, away from that intersection, to allow better visibility to cars to see what's coming down Hisgen Avenue. And then also have the police department with their school liaison to talking with the school and try to do some education for students and I guess faculty and staff to understand speeding issues on that street. So those are our preliminary recommendations. They are working with the police department to get measurements and such. Because we are obviously making progress, the residents who were interested, as well as the police department, we all agreed that it would be premature to set a public hearing to vote on anything tonight. And they were all informed that there would not be a vote on this issue tonight, and that's why I believe no one is here. So with that, just preliminary information, I would like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for this issue to December 4th, 6:15 p.m. in these chambers.
Second.
Before I accept the motion, I'm going to ask if any members here present have any questions for Councilor McCoy, or can it wait till continuation? Councilor Rist.
I have a question in that one of the solutions requiring parking change is a separate ordinance that would have to be presented. The ordinance to add 4-way stops is what's in front of us. So if that's the solution, then the 4-way stop sign is removed and we'd have to present, this is just a matter of order. I would imagine that you'd have to present a new ordinance for parking regulation.
Yeah, exactly. Once we have the specific distances, those would be submitted
Independent of this.
Exactly.
And you might end up removing this from the agenda because you've decided that you don't
Removing this
need
and adding
that.
something new is what you're
Right,
saying, yes.
okay, thank you.
Any other comment on this? Okay, also, I'm still going to extend an invitation to the public, because this is a public hearing, if everyone wants to step forward and address the council on this issue. Seeing none, I will accept the motion. We currently have a motion on the table to recommend a continuation of the proposal to amend traffic rules and order, section 1.55, obedience to isolated stop signs, by adding the following concerning Garfield Ave at Hisgen? Hisgen Ave? I'll trust you on this one. Is there any further comment on this continuation? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstention? Motion passes. I'll accept the motion to conclude our public hearing.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion to conclude the public hearings. Any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any objections or abstentions? That motion passes. Okay, that brings us back down to new business. The first concerns a request from me. I'd like Councilor Derby just to move that to ordinance first, please.
The request to adopt Chapter 2?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to move to request to adopt Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2002 tax agreements, tax title, and foreclosures to the ordinance subcommittee, please.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to recommend that the aforementioned request be moved to ordinance for review and consideration. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, I'll just add this. Councilor Derby, My intent here is not necessarily to act on this during the length and remainder of my term, but to give it a thorough study, including recommendations from the mayor's office and the finance director. Thank you. Okay, any other further comments on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any objections or abstentions? Motion passes. Next, thank you, Councilor Derby. Councilor Hagan, could you move that to finance, please?
Yes, I'd like to move the following, the supplemental appropriation to finance, and I'll do a first reading on it. This is a request dated November 4th, 2013. The request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. The amount requested, $237,732, to be appropriated from the CPA funds. In that amount, $237,732, and appropriated to the Nonotuck Park Athletic Fields. In that same amount, $237,732. The amount requested would be used for the following purpose: to fund the construction of 2 athletic fields in Nonotuck Park.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to recommend that the supplemental appropriation request in the amount of $237,732 to fund the construction of 2 athletic fields in Nonotuck Park be forwarded to finance for review and consideration. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstention? That motion passes. Thank you, Councilor Hagan. Councilor Winnie, appointments.
Yes, thank you. I move that the 19 mayoral appointments be sent to Appointments Subcommittee for review.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to recommend the 19 mayoral appointments to the Appointments Subcommittee for review and consideration. Is there any further comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any objections or abstentions? That motion passes, and that concludes our business for today. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the table to adjourn. It's not, kind of not debatable. Is there any further comment on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any objections or abstentions? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.